The comments heard on The View from A Pew are those of Mac McCoy and are not necessarily the opinions of his guests, his producer Garth, any one particular denomination or religion, the church lady, Mr. Lemke, Pastor Craig, or anyone else of sound mind and body. Now, here is today's The View from A Pew, heard all around the world on YouTube. Just search for The View from A Pew.
And thank you, Emily. This is Mac McCoy, and we are live once again inside of your radio or inside of your PC or your app. Just however you choose to get our programming, we appreciate it. For many years, both this gentleman and I, my co-host, Gary Hutchens, have been on live Christian radio. And we were just talking just now that we get people listening. You said all over the world, 48 states you've had people?
I think there are only 2 states where in our podcasting we haven't picked up any downloads, but otherwise all across the country and basically around the world too.
Well, you tell me who those states are.
I don't remember.
And I'll call a pastor or something in those churches. And we'll get a download for you in each of those states. Well, you know, the World Wide Web, and I remember, as I'm sure you do, when this first came up. And the worldwide, the WWW, is the thing that I remember coveting.
Yep.
Or a little jealous of. Because we were limited to a 70-mile radius or a 100-mile radius. Right. With the internet, we are worldwide.
That's correct.
And we both get feedback from people in different places. I did hear from my friend, and I've only met him online, but he is a missionary, and he's in Africa, and his name is Moses. And every once in a while, he'll make a comment on the show or something, and I always appreciate him. So, in real time, we're coming up on Mother's Day weekend this weekend. No matter when you might be listening to this, whether it be this week or next month or next year, know that we have Mother's Day this coming Sunday, May
12th. 12th. Yep.
And so we've been doing a series of what does the Bible say about blank. And today, and Gary gets to choose that. I love the fact he does that. And by the way, thank you
you're
for
welcome.
Doing that.
My honor.
Well, having you choose one makes sure one of us is prepared.
Yeah.
So, but this is interesting. A godly wife and mother. And you start out with Proverbs 31, 10 through 31.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, you know, we've been covering in this series, we've been covering what I call basic Bible teachings, and the technical term would be basic Bible doctrines, and that would be of Christianity really primarily, but it really covers the whole Bible. And really the whole Bible, Old Testament and the New Testament, is ultimately about God's plan for man's redemption and salvation through Christianity, through Jesus Christ. But I thought since we're coming up on Mother's Day, it would be a little bit of, an interesting shift of gears to talk about, well, what does the Bible say about mothers? And in our culture in this country right now, that really is a needed focus because we've turned motherhood upside down. But Proverbs chapter 31, verses 10 through 31, it covers in a pretty focused way what it is, what the quality we ought to look at for as a wife. What do I want to be as a wife, or what should I look for as a wife? And also, what should I be striving for as far as being a mother? Or even as a father, or a man, a husband, what should I be thinking about as I want my wife to be that mother that God would want her to be?
Well, Gary's my co-host, as he always is today, for What Does the Bible Say About Blank? I'm Mac McCoy. The program is called The View from A Pew. And make sure you get that in the right order, because there's several of us that use a variation of View from the Pew. So mine is The View from A Pew, and you can get all the programs on Roku as well as your Fire Sticks. You can get them on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel, and of course about 27 pod sites. So I want to thank my producer Garth for getting that done. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe there's a woman's organization called Proverbs 31, and maybe it's 31:10. But this is really, and I'm going to read just a little bit of
Right
it.
ahead.
But this really is just a wonderful writing from Proverbs. 31:10. A wife of noble character, who can we find? She's worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. And it goes on and on and on. And it's again, Solomon's writing 31, Proverbs 31. And it's 31 and then 10 to the end of the chapter. So great reading. Great reading.
Isn't that a great statement and identity of a virtuous wife? But also the virtuous wife would be the virtuous mother.
Yes. It kind of happens that way.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that this says her life is worth far more above rubies. Rubies is the stone.
Correct.
Okay.
Precious gem.
All right.
Like diamonds and emeralds.
Yep. Well, go ahead. Let's talk about some of these things.
Well, we get all caught up in our culture and our country right now in what, the technical term would be materialism, and that's what can I own, what can I possess. I've often used the illustration of the little boy, he's growing up in the home with mom and daddy, and so he gets to be about 5 or 6 years old, and he sees the boy across the street. He's got a brand new tricycle, so he wants that, So he gets the dad and mom buy him the brand new tricycle, and boy, he is on top of the world. He's like that. And then after a year or so, he sees the boy across the street has a two-wheeler, just a small two-wheel bike, but he's looks at his tricycle and he thinks, I want that. And so now, he wants that. And so he's got that now. But then after a few years, the boy across the street has, a racer with gears and all of that and handbrakes and everything. And so he starts talking to mom and dad, I want that. And that's great. But then after a few years, the boy across the street comes driving into the, he's old enough now, he's got his own license, and his parents had bought him a car. And he's got to have a car now. And then later, how it goes. We've got to have a fancier car, more expensive, bigger, sportier, and all of that. We keep focusing on things, and things never really bring us fulfillment because we're always looking for the newer thing.
Yeah, and Gary Hutchens is my guest host today from Sunny Slope Church of Christ here in Omaha. Sunday at 9:30 for Bible study, 10:30 is service, 6 p.m. that afternoon also a service, and then Wednesday a Bible study along with a service. Get two for the price of one. That's a Doublemint joke.
Yeah, right.
Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. The 10th commandment is thou shalt not covet. Mm-hmm. And I remember after Jesus mugging me and I started looking at everything differently, that I didn't understand what covet meant. And a pastor once told me it's the one it's the one commandment we all keep, or we all don't keep.
Yeah.
It's the one that we all do. And it was described to me as it's when you're not satisfied with what you have, so you covet what someone else has.
Yes.
Is that a correct way of saying that?
Yeah, and it's not just the idea of desire, but it is, an ungodly desire. Somebody has Well, again, the little boy. Of course, the little boy doesn't understand the whole principle,
Right.
and he's not responsible for coveting, necessarily until his parents teach him about that. But as we become responsible adults, we look and and maybe our financial reality is such that we can only have so much. But then we see a friend or maybe even a relative, and they've got a whole lot more. They have more money, they have bigger things, fancier, newer, and we start envying them, and really we start resenting them because they've got and we don't. And so there's where the greed turns, green envy, as we call it, and it becomes ungodly.
What's the difference between coveting and envying?
The same thing, basically.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Now, envy can be, envy can be, well, we can think about it from positive light. Yeah, I envy you that you have been able to do such things, and we don't really look down on them for that. We respect them. Boy, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I've never thought of envy as a bad word.
Not unless we carry it to the extreme where now I hate you, or I don't like you, or I resent you because you have done such and such, or you have such and such, and I don't, and I can't.
Yeah.
Then it becomes ungodly.
This is The View from A Pew, and we thank you for listening on this day. We are on 27 pod sites. Just search for The View from A Pew. You can also email me. It's Mac, M-A-C, like macaroni, at The View from A Pew. And that is on our screen here in the upper left-hand corner. That's our little logo. And we do surely appreciate you spending your time with us every day as we do these ministries. All right, so we've got Proverbs 31:10. It talks about all the different characteristics that a wife has. And we're going to get into a few of those in our next segment. I'm Mac McCoy. We'll be right back. And if we're not, well, just look for Jesus, because we'll be with him.